Governor Carlos Fernandez Valdovinos of the Central Bank of Paraguay, one of the central bankers for us. Now, what is the economic condition at this point of Paraguay? Is it really very different from the neighboring states and from many other states in Latin America?
Quite different, quite different. Even if you take the number that the IMF just released, we're going to be the second strongest growth rate in the region. And for next year, we're going to be the top one with 3.8% growth. So it's making quite a different economic performance that my country is having, especially considering the large neighbors like Brazil and Argentina. It's really outstanding how Paraguay is doing in this external environment.
How do you explain that? What explains the different performance?
I think it's basics. Everything, you're not going to create income or employment through the state, but you can create the basis for the private sector to start investing, to start betting on the country, and that's something we were doing since 2003, providing a nominal, stable framework for all the private sector to do business in Paraguay.
Now, do you share the concern that the IMF has expressed about Latin America and the climate, economic condition and the cycle in Latin America?
I mean, this is not time for pessimism, it's just time for realism. We know that the golden years of extremely high commodity prices and very low financing condition is over. But right now we have to go back to basics also. I mean, what was the key for economic growth for all the countries before the commodity price boom? Productivity. So countries need to start betting again on policy-enhanced productivity in order for them to sustain growth rate in the future at higher rates that is going to be enough to reduce poverty and improve inequality in the countries.
Now, from your perspective, these annual meetings of the IMF and the World Bank were particularly helpful in terms of exchanging views, and do you share the general outlook they have for the economy, not just Latin America?
I think the most positive thing about this meeting is that you have the opportunity to meet with colleagues from other central banks, from Minister of Finance. There is not a common view, so everyone can actually provide some important information for you to make decisions going back to your country. So it's quite a great opportunity to discuss all the relevant issues for the global economy, for the regional economy that will be quite key in order for you to implement the right policy back at home.
Governor, one last question. I asked the other governors as well, what worries you more at this point? Are you more worried about the interest rates being raised by the Federal Reserve? What happens in China? What is your main concern?
My main concern is my neighbor, Brazil. It's too large. It's the largest regional economy. We have very close links to Brazil, and we basically follow a lot Brazil. I know that China is important for the war. I know the U.S. interest rate is important for the war, but for us it's quite more important for the spillover what happened in Brazil, so that's the reason why we're following so closely.